bang, and the next one. Yes, I have already been standing here for quite a while now, going for the big bass. So I want to get the big bass from Elk Lake here. I am catching them right now on different types of wobblers. Whiterock Bass hooked in. So really good. Several Whiterock Bass are already in, and this is how it looks right now. So Whiterock Bass caught multiple times, Largemouth Bass caught multiple times, White Bass caught multiple times, and already the second trophy. The first one came today in the live stream on a jig rig. The jig, that is the Craw 4.501 with a 30 jig head. I caught that one today for the very first time, and just now again on a wobbler as well. Striped bass also hooked in, and also the Freshwater Drum. So really exciting fish that bite here on big lures. And I will also take a look in detail which of the fish went in on which wobbler, because right now I'm testing all sorts of wobblers, and usually stationary, simply with twitching. And I am still not fully through with how best or how fast to jig, because I have also had bites now and then when I jigged relatively slow. So very slow twitching here with the wobbler. And now, of course, the big question is, how do you keep that going continuously? Sometimes you pull 2 or 3 times and not a single bite, and then suddenly you just do 1 or 2 turns, so to speak, 1 or 2 twitches, and right away the bite comes in. It is very different right now. What can be said though, what is working quite well at the moment is this current lure. I think this is one of the most popular lures here too. The Balsa Joint 803, here it is. And of course it is also used quite often at Corey. And the huge disadvantage is it is a balsa lure. Balsa lure means made from balsa wood, and that in turn means homemade. So either you make this balsa lure yourself with lure crafting or have it made. We also have in the Discord a list or an area for lure crafting, and also a list of players who can all make these lures. Just politely ask whether the person is there, has time, and feels like making the lure, and ideally send the materials that are needed, and then you get the lure sent back. Yes, these balsa lures work again and again, but of course I have also tested other lures that also work quite well again and again. Yes, I'm standing here at the 4.5 meter hole, so at the very big hole. It simply has the big advantage that I can also use wobblers with a greater diving depth here, so clearly bigger wobblers. My biggest striped bass also went in on a very big wobbler. We can have a look at that in a moment. And here in this area, as I said, you can pull through quite comfortably. I have mostly cast in this direction, so standing here roughly in this area, and then always into this direction. Yes, now the bite time is about to end. That means it's running out. Maybe we can catch one more fish here, and then we will look again step by step which of the lures were the interesting ones here. Then we will also check the setup again, but we will do that all from land in a moment. So I have been reeling all the time here, relatively slow, sometimes even slower, and then only did a small turn, and that way you get into the twitching here. And of course it is different from lure to lure. You have to try it out a little bit. Important is simply to get continuously into this twitching, and then you will also get a bite now and then. Still, as already said, it is not that every pull brings a bite. So it's not about making money quickly here and very easily catching the rare big bass. That really remains difficult. Still, you do have the chance that one of these rare bass or one of the very big bass goes in. And as said, now we will simply look from land at the lures that just worked. And then it is simply as always, test, and see how it works for you. Because at some point, you must also land something like this striped bass as a trophy here with 30 kilograms. Those are damn big bass, and I would really like to have them as a trophy someday. So let us look here in the net. The white bass here, that one came today in the live stream. So white bass trophy, my very first white bass trophy, by the way. Trophy number 129, really nice. That means I will definitely make my 130 this year. And that one on the perfect Craw 4.501. which is working really well right now. 3/0 hook and all that at the 4.5 meter hole, but up here at the 4.5 meter hole with the boat, simply from the area, and then jig through this section, and that is where it went in. Yes, and besides that, right now here the second trophy in this area, that one was on the Xander Artificial Lures, a very classic spoon which always works quite well, in this case with a 1/0 hook. But that also worked again. So second white bass trophy. Now of course I would also like to get the smallmouth bass sometime. That one may also bite. So Xander lure is also really nice. So I sort once again quickly by weight. And now let us look again at what big fish we still have here. For example, the Whiterock Bass. That one came in several times too. That one went in just now on the Balsa Joint. So the lure that I just used, the Balsa Joint 140S005, that is the black, very big one with the red lightning on it. That one also already gave me the biggest striped bass, and it also worked here even on the big largemouth bass. The largemouth bass even jumped right out of the water, made real action. He really had fun with it. So 4 kilograms, not bad. Trophy is at 6 kilograms. So there is of course still some way to go. I already have it as a trophy, and still it is of course also quite a good option with an extremely big lure. You must of course be a bit careful not to jig too much down, let it rise again a bit, and then jig again so that the diving depth does not make the lure hit the ground. That is usually not so good. So jig a bit more carefully there. The striped bass is of course also super exciting, and I would also like to have that one very big someday. Super exciting bass, super rare bass, and I caught that thing on the salmon crank. And the skilled angler of course recognizes salmon T1 crank. What is that? Those are the lures from the special shop at Tunguska. So that also works here at this water with these Tunguska special lures. If you are at Tunguska in the backyard, there is a small shop, and there you can get these special lures. That is also worth it at other waters, yes, but most fish actually went in on the Balsa Joint 8003, and that matched quite well. On that one, I just had rather small hooks. So I tried once again with small hooks, big lure, relatively small hooks. That worked well. That probably also brought a bit more frequency. However, I would also say here, you can definitely go with a number 1-to-1 aught hook. That should still be large enough for this lure. Also, the entire setup was really thick because I already expected that maybe the alligator gar might bite in. That is why I am of course here with 31 kilograms fluorocarbon, 32 kilograms monoline, all on the thick Venga with the thick Ultima. So a very, very big, strong endgame setup. You do not necessarily need to go in this thick here. Still, we know these fish can grow very big, and accordingly, you want to be equipped. So I would say at least a 13-14 kilogram setup you should use here to be reasonably safe and to get the fish out reasonably fast. Yes, now let us also take a quick look at what the fish bring in silver. And then that's pretty much it. Then it is again wait and test and keep trying around and test different other lures. And also feel free to write in the comments which other wobbler has already given you really good results. I sort again by price. This is how it looks, and that is quite okay. So the fish themselves all bring really good silver. However, as already said, the fish are very, very rare, and also in terms of frequency, really not so good. It can also well be that you maybe cast 3, 4, 5 times and not a single fish bites. And bam, on the next cast, the next big fish hits, and suddenly you have finally caught the striped bass. So rare fish. I will definitely continue here because at some point these fish must bite. If you want to tick off the trophies, then you simply must hunt for them. I'm curious about your results. As I said, feel free to share. Also share in Discord. Link to Discord is under the video. Which wobblers still work here at Elk Lake? Get out on Elk Lake, test, 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 and then we will see each other in the next video or the next live stream. Until then, tight lines.